Good morning here from the beautiful town of Angra do Heroísmo here in the Azores Islands. If you don't know where the Azores Islands are, they're a group of 9 small islands in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean that belong to Portugal. Most people come here to enjoy the stunning landscapes, go hiking, or even partake in the vibrant local culture. But that's not why we're here today. Because today we're going to take a deep dive into the fascinating and somewhat forgotten history of what was the final stronghold of the Portuguese Empire. It's a captivating story, but to start it, let's find somewhere to sit down. The year is 1580, and the Cardinal King of Portugal, Henry, has just died. Being a cardinal, he doesn't have any children, which means we have a good old succession crisis on our hands. 2 main contenders emerge. We have King Philip II of Spain, and on the other, a Portuguese nobleman called Antonio, Prior of Crato. Gathering his supporters, Antonio is acclaimed King of Portugal, but Philip II, he isn't really happy about that. Being the King of Spain, he has a lot of military and economic power. So, what does he do? Well, you guessed it, he invades Portugal and defeats Antonio in battle, forcing Antonio to flee right here to Terceira Island in the Azores, where he now rules the last remainder of the Portuguese Empire and attempts to resist the Spanish. But Philip II of Spain, he still isn't happy. He wants the entire Portuguese Empire conquered, and this pesky Antonio and his supporters here in the Azores Islands, well, they're really starting to piss him off. So, what does he do? Well, you guessed it. He prepares to invade. He orders Admiral Pedro de Valdez to amass an armada to secure Terceira Island, this island that we're on right now, in order to subjugate Antonio once and for all and secure the Spanish shipping routes to the Indies. War is coming to the Azores. I have to say the sun is starting to hit quite hard up here on this beautiful viewpoint. So let's make our way slowly but surely over to Mount Brazil, that big mountain you see over there, and the imposing St. John Fortress. That's where our story continues. Time to step in to our monster for the next couple of days. Wouldn't normally be taking the car to go down. I normally want to go walk all the way up to the mountain. It is a bit far. I'm not gonna lie to you folks. It's not the closest walk. So we're gonna drive over. We're gonna park and try and find a way up to the top of Mount Brazil to check out the fortress and check out the mountain and continue our story. And then on our way back, we'll be able to go through the old town and stop at some historically important places that I want to show you. Let's head over to Mount Brazil. All right, we're here. We are at the top of Mount Brazil. Let's get out and explore a bit. Well, before we do go explore, probably gonna throw on a little bit of sunscreen here because it is getting pretty hot out here. And I don't wanna burn my skin, man. Come on. I got that special Nivea Kids 50 plus sunblock for the man child that I am. No! Damn it, I got it all over my nice Liverpool jersey. Liverpool FC, the best football club in the world. Damn it. Alrighty. I am lotioned up, oiled up. We're here on the highest point of view on the mount. We're gonna make our way over to the monument over here. A fantastic view over the entire city here. Look at that. And what I love so much about Portugal is that you have these beautiful azuelas, the tiles over here that show you beautiful blue tiles that show you the most of the times it's religious figures, saints or Jesus or Mary, the Virgin Mary, but they often put them just for viewpoints like this to depict scenes. Let's make our way back over to the other side, the ocean facing side, the Atlantic facing side, because that's where our story continues. Now as I was walking, all right, just got woken up. As I was walking to the viewpoint, you may have noticed these anti-aircraft cannons in the back over here, and that's for one very good reason. Is he gonna shut up? What the hell's wrong with this guy? Where is he? Buddy, I'm trying to do a vlog over here. I'm trying to do a Chortcuts episode. Could you stop making noise, please? No respect anymore. As I was saying, you may have noticed these anti-aircraft cannons over here, and that's because the Portuguese during the Second World War installed a battery of anti-aircraft cannons on top of Mount. Okay, he's doing it on purpose. God damn. Okay, I think we're good. They installed a battery, as I was saying before the cock interrupted me. The Portuguese installed a battery of anti-aircraft cannons on top of Mount Brazil because of the prominent position that the mountain has over the city. And the cannons are still here today. As you can see, fortified casemates, still in one piece. And here we are in the central command bunker. Commanders would probably have been over here, commanding and organizing the fire of the batteries. I don't know if they were ever used, but 94 millimeters, it packed a punch. It would pack a punch for sure. It seems they have a little cat colony on the mount over here with some cute little cats. Look. Hello. You make that jump? Okay, maybe not. Let's make our way now to the ocean viewpoint on the mountain, on Mount Brazil, where we are right now, where we can pick up the next part of our story. It's the morning of the 5th of July, 1581, and just over the horizon, over there, appear 10 big ships carrying 1,000 angry Spanish soldiers led by our friend Admiral Pedro de Valdez. They enter the Bay of Angra. It's just hidden by the vegetation over there, and they start shelling the city. Of course, the entire fortress that we're gonna go check out on the mountain over there didn't exist back then, so Pedro de Valdez decides to occupy the high ground over here and disembark his troops. He also sends an offer of surrender to the Portuguese governor, but he's loyal to Antonio, and the offer is rejected. Now, hearing that the Terceirans, the inhabitants of the island, had rejected his surrender offer, Philip II of Spain gets even more pissed. He tells Admiral Valdez, who is on the mount right here at the moment, that he's going to send him reinforcements. And with that new fleet comes a new commander who's going to take over from Valdez. Now, Valdez gets even more pissed because it's his operation. You know, he's an ambitious guy. He wants the glory. He wants the victory. So he decides he's had enough waiting on the mount with his troops doing nothing. He decides to launch an amphibious attack on the city of Angra and capture it and hold it until reinforcements arrive. The new fleet with the new commander, so he can get the glory, he can get the victory. So he gives the orders to prepare for an amphibious surprise landing the next day at a beach just east of Angra, a beach that we're going to head off to right now. Let's head back down to the car and find a place to park and go check out the fort of St. John of Brazil, and then make our way through the city of Angra and then off to the beach. I've just stopped over here because we have a fantastic view of the fortress. It's a massive fort, one of the biggest of Philip II's time. As you can see, we'll try and see if we can find a way to get in there. Let's go check it out. Alright, let's go check out this fort. So I was reading the information board, and I don't mean to spoil our story, but the castle St. John the Baptist here was constructed by the Spanish, and it was the largest fort constructed by the Spanish outside of Spain itself. So this is, it's a massive fortress, as we're gonna go see for ourselves. It's massive, huge fortress. Let's see if we can make our way inside. I hope we can. Fortunately for us, it would seem that the doors are locked, and I'm not going to try and knock on them because this area is under video surveillance by the Portuguese military, who still occupy the base to this day. So we're not going to be playing any stupid games, but let's try and make our way around here, the fortress, and look at these massive walls over here. Look at this stuff. They have caissons down here. I don't know what this would have been for. Massive walls over here. This was a very important fortress, of course, the Azores being on the middle point of the Spanish gold ship route from Spain to the New World. They would have stopped here in the Azores to refuel and replenish their supplies, which means that this was a very important stop for the Spanish. Look at this. The fort of St. John the Baptist, as it was recalled after it was conquered back by the Portuguese. Again, without spoiling the end of the story for you. Try and see if we can get up onto the bastions over there into the fort. As I said before, it is an active military base. Maybe figure out a way to get inside if they offer historical tours or something. Well, just had a word with the guard, and we cannot go in. In the memory of Gungunhana, who was the last emperor of Mozambique, what used to be Mozambique, or the Empire of Gaza. Mozambique that was, of course, colonized by the Portuguese. He was imprisoned here in the fortress and died here. A little fact that you can tell your friends when you're bored. The last emperor of Mozambique died here in the fortress of St. John of Brazil on Azores Island. The more you know. Well, since we can't unfortunately go into the fortress, let's go back into the city and explore a bit of the old UNESCO World Heritage Site that is the city of Angra do Heroísmo. Thirsty as hell, man. Damn. Look at this. with some bulls, some Spaniards over there in the distance. Keep that in mind because it's a little hint of what's to come later on in our story today. Just walking down the street here and I've noticed right here the museum of military history. Let's go check it out. All right, they're open today. So let's see if we can find some interesting military artifacts here that are going to be relevant to our story. They have a culverin over here. Look at this. Cannon that they would have fitted onto the ships at the time of our story. Am I able to go outside as well? I can. Okay, thank you. Some more anti-aircraft batteries from the looks of it. Just up these steps over here you have a very nice football pitch. Look at this. In the shadow of a beautiful fortress like that. You know, in the 16th century, firearms were still a pretty rare commodity. Heavy, unwieldy weapons that they would have used, but the majority of troops would still have been wearing armor like this, and they would have been using swords, pikes. In the era of our story, the 1580s, firearms would still have been a pretty rare, precious commodity on the battlefield. What the hell are the Brits doing here? They're no matter where you are, you'll find those pesky Brits. The Azores played a important role during the First and especially the Second World War. Portugal was under the Estado Novo military dictatorship, which was officially neutral in the Second World War, but they allowed the Americans and the Brits to use an airbase here on Terceira Island. Obviously, considering the geographic location right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, this was a very important and strategically important location for the Americans and for the Brits. Obrigado, thank you. Do you know if the Capitães Palace is open? It's holiday today again?
Yes.
Okay, you have lots of holidays.
Yes, June for us it's very
full holidays.
long.
I'll go check it out. Thank you. Well, that was nice. Little museum there, nobody in there. Let's make our way into town now. See if we can go check out the palace of the general captain in the old town of Angra do Heroísmo. Now, something that's very unique to the Azores are these chapels, as you can see over here, these chapels to the Holy Spirit. The island itself has a special dedication to the Holy Spirit. They have all these cute little chapels all over the place dedicated to the Holy Spirit. Main cathedral. I think they had a bull run here this morning, on the main street. They had a running of the bulls. I just missed it. Fooling around on Mount Brazil, so I missed it. Damn it. Everything is decorated for the feast day. Today's the feast of St. John the Baptist here in the Azores. It's a big feast day, of course. The fortress we just saw was the fortress of St. John the Baptist. And so to celebrate the feast day, they had a running of the bulls. And they decorated everything. Let's go see if we can check out the palace of the captain. Closed. Damn it. This palace, the palace of the Capitães Generais, the general captain, would have been the residence of the governor of Terceira, the Terceira Island, during our time period. Unfortunately, we can't go in today, but this is where the governor would have stayed. The entire city's alive for the feast day, but I think it's all done, so we just missed out, unfortunately. have these very nice gardens over here in the middle of the city, little park. We're gonna keep making our way up to the final place that I wanted to check out here in the city before we head off to the beach. Let's hope it's still open, because on feast days, I mean, you never know with this country. Some things are open, some things are closed. This used to be an old convent, Franciscan convent, I think. Let's see if we can have a little quick look inside. Hello. Are you still open today? Yes. Is it okay to take video? Yes? All good? Okay. 30 minutes is fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. They're closing in 30 minutes, but she let me in for free. That's just the way it be, my dog. That's the way I do it, my dog. Okay, I'm gonna stop doing that. They maintain the courtyard, but what really interests me is the church. Over here, let's go into the church. There's no one here. I always like going into churches, especially the ones in Europe, because they're all made in stone, and it has this distinct smell. It's kind of fresh, crisp stone smell that's perfect on a warm day like this. Funeral hearse here. I just stepped into a room full of carriages, old carriages. Look at this. They have a Ford Model T over here. Would not want to be riding in that on the cobblestone streets of the old town. I can probably wouldn't feel my ass anymore. These carriages would have been probably reserved for the upper classes of the citizens of Angra do Heroísmo. I found a little passageway here that goes up. I'm gonna hope to see if we can go up onto the secondary level of the church. Little individual carriers. You'd get your servants to hoist you up and carry you around with these sticks over here, while your servants struggled to carry your fat ass all over town. I think I found the way into the church over here. Look at this. And then the beautiful organ over here, look at that thing. Could play some absolutely sick tunes on that thing. Look at all the azuelo, the blue tiled mosaics all around, right there, depicting scenes of life for the monks. These were Franciscan monks, which means they followed the order of Saint Francis of Assisi. There he is, depicted in these beautiful blue azuelo tiles up here in the church. Let's make our way back to our car, because I am starving right now. I could definitely use a little bite. So we're gonna make our way back down to the vehicle. Oh my God, thank you. I'm hungry. I could stay longer, but I need to go get something to eat. Thank you again. Have a good day. Thank you, bye-bye. You always feel good when you get in for free, especially when you get to see a beautiful church like that. Let's make our way back down to our car and try and maybe get a little bite on the way, and then we'll head off to the beach. The main town square over here. Got myself a little sandwich over here, a little ham and cheese to get me through until we reach the coast, where I got some more snacks in the car. But let's make our way back to the car now and head down towards the beach where the Spanish have planned to land. I could go for a swim. I don't have my swimsuit with me. It's still drying. I went yesterday. But I could really use a swim. You have a really good view here of the length of the fortifications, because we just saw the fortress of St. John of Brazil in front of us. But the fortifications go all along the coast. They go all along the side. It's a massive, massive fortification. Well, we're back at the fort, but I'm out of water. So let's see if I can fill up my water bottle somewhere. I can't go without more water, so I'll run it. I'll run the risk. All right, let's make our way towards the beach. We're gonna take the coastal road, the scenic route, to Salga Beach, where we will continue our story and await the Spanish landing. Off we go. We just stopped here quickly because I wanted to go check something out that I'd seen from the road. Not too bad for a view. Lots of waves out today in the ocean. All along the coast. Down there, the Portuguese had built a series of little forts to keep a watch out for the enemy. The governor of the island, who was loyal to Antonio, who refused Pedro de Valdez's surrender offer, he spots the Spanish ships out there in the large as they're slowly making their way over there to the bay where they're planning to land. And he can deduce by their movements that, well, they're planning to land. So he reinforces the militia, the local militia, with units of pikemen and musketeers, as well as some trusty noblemen. And he gets ready to welcome a Spanish amphibious landing. Make the most of this opportunity to have a little snack break over here. Got some nice gummy worms over here. This stuff is like crack cocaine. All right, enough fiddling and farting around. Let's keep going towards the beach and try and see if the Spanish have already arrived. All right, here we are at Salga Beach. We have arrived. Let's go check out the location of the Spanish landing. Let's see if they're here. I don't see any yet. It's getting pretty overcast out here, but let's make our way around to the other end over there. I think I see the ruins of a little fort, and you know what that means. I found the remains of what appears to be the redoubt of Salga, according to this wonderful information board that's all in Portuguese, which is very helpful. This fort would have been the location where the Portuguese militia soldiers would have camped out, right over here, with a great view of the Bay of Salga. It's early in the morning, and our good friend Admiral Pedro de Valdez decides it's time to launch his invasion. He decides to send out a first column of well-armed troops and artillery on some small boats out from his main fleet assembled out there in the bay, and he sends them to land right over here on the beach of Salga. As you can see, the bay is fairly large and it's actually quite deep, which means that unloading men and munitions is a pretty easy task. However, the Portuguese lookouts stationed just over here in this small little fort and in all the other small forts along the coast, they spot the Spanish boats approaching, and they sound the alarm by ringing the church bells in the town nearby. The Portuguese troops quickly muster and assemble, but it's already too late. The Spanish have managed to land the majority of their troops and their artillery on the beach, and they're already making their way inland, pushing the light Portuguese resistance back. Seeing this, the bulk of the troops muster and they throw themselves at the Spanish, and a fierce battle commences. The Portuguese keep receiving a small trickle of constant reinforcements, but it's not enough because the Spanish keep unloading more and more troops and more artillery. And soon things really aren't going well for the Portuguese troops, and they start falling back inland. Let's follow them and see where they go. Well, the weather out on this side of the island is a lot colder, a lot more overcast than Angra, which was very sunny, very warm. The Azores are known for their microclimate that can change very, very quickly. Let's get off the main road here and make our way inland as we follow the Portuguese retreat up these countryside paths. Look at this, a banana plantation here. That's one of the positives, I guess, of the Azores Islands, is that since it has a microclimate, the conditions change so quickly. It really makes it a very fertile place to grow all sorts of different crops. The majority of people that I've seen here are farmers growing all sorts of crops. Another thing the Azores are known for, their dairy. Hello. Woo. I don't think he really cares. The Azores are known for their cheese, their milk, and their butter. Dairy products, cows, graze, all around the Azores. Very green, very lush vegetation and grass, as you can see, which means that the products are very good. I had a bit of cheese earlier on my trip, and I had some milk. Went to go buy some milk this morning. It was probably the best milk I've ever tasted. Compared to the stuff you get in Canada, white water, compared to the stuff you get over here. We're arriving at our destination. This is an important spot in our story. It'll be time for me to take my glasses off. Finally, the sun's gone. Glasses don't really have a purpose, except making me look pretty damn cool, boy. Here we are, the abandoned manor house of Salga. Probably asking yourselves, why the hell did you bring us here? I'll tell you in just a second. While the Portuguese keep retreating, Admiral Pedro de Valdez has landed along with his 1,000 men on the beach at Selga. And the Spanish forces, they spread out in these plains over here, overlooking the beach as they push the Portuguese slowly back up these hills. Of course, all of these plantations would not have been there back then, so they could have spread out in the open plains and arrayed themselves in battle order. Meanwhile, the Portuguese, they're being pushed back, and so they gather on the high ground over here next to this manor house, a small manor house which would have belonged back then to this lady called Brianda Pereira. Remember that name because it will be very important later on. The Spanish keep advancing up the road we just walked, and soon they arrive right here at Brianda Pereira's manor house. A fierce battle ensues, but the Spanish gain the upper hand and they sack and completely destroy Pereira's house, and that's the state it's been left in ever since. It's crazy to think that something that happened over 400 years ago is just right here in the middle of nowhere, and it's still standing. It's still standing. The house hasn't been touched since the Spanish sacked it, and we're just walking here up this dirt road. You have the main house over there. These probably would have been the stables over here, or some sort of kitchen, maybe. I mean, look at this. You can even still see the burn marks over here. All this stone is completely blackened by the fire. History just in front of our eyes. You know, if you'd driven up this road and past this, you probably thought it would have been another abandoned house like many others you see on the island. Completely ransacked. Let's see if there's anything else left. And up here would have been the chapel. If you see IHS. Yeah, look at this. The old chapel of the manor house. And you have your holy water font in the front. Still have the alcoves where they would have put up statues of the saints. Still standing after over 400 years. Still standing. Despite the sacking of Brianda Pereira's manor house, there is hope for the Portuguese, because at 9 a.m., massive reinforcements, 6,000 men, militia, arrive from Angra, where we just were, and renewed. The Portuguese make a stand, and they start to push the Spanish back down towards the beach. The battle in the plains is at a stalemate. Both sides are slugging it out. It's tough fighting, it's hard fighting. It's at this moment that something crucial happens. An Augustinian monk by the name of Pedro, which is the name, it seems, of every single man in this country. Well, he's fighting on horseback. He comes up with an incredibly genius strategy. Both sides are locked in battle, and they need something to separate them, to differentiate them, a crucial big game move. So Pedro, the Augustinian monk, gallops up to the governor of the island, who is more on the higher ground, commanding the forces who are at a stalemate right now. And he says, "Oh, listen, governor, obviously things aren't working out. We have a numerical advantage. We need to be pressing. We need to be winning right now, my governor. And I think I have just what it takes to finally break the Spanish lines and to push them back into the sea." And the governor says, "Okay, well, I'm all ears. Tell me what's up." And so Pedro says, "Well, why don't we round up all the bulls and cattle that we can find and launch them towards the Spanish lines?" The crazy thing is, the governor accepts. So the Portuguese are now rushing around, looking left and right to try and gather as many cows, as many bulls as they can find. Luckily for them, the woman, Brianda Pereira, whose manor was just burnt down, obviously isn't too happy about that. And coincidentally, she happens to own a massive herd of bulls and cows. And so she instantly gifts that to the Portuguese forces. And so the Portuguese go around and they gather more and more and more. And then finally they have 1,000. They have a herd of 1,000 cows and bulls. And then what they do is they line them up. They line them up in a big line, wide line, opposite the Spanish forces that are situated still somewhat on the lower land. And they line up the bulls and the cows. And then the governor gives the order to launch them towards the Spanish line. Imagine you're a Spanish soldier, you're exhausted, you're tired, you don't really know if you're winning or not. And you turn your head, you look up in front of you, and you see a herd of 1,000 angry bulls and cows charging down the slope right at you. Chances are you're gonna turn and you're gonna run. And that's exactly what happened. The Spanish turn and they run straight down, right back to the beach where they came from. But they're too slow, they're too late. They turn around. I can see the cows and the bulls crashing into their line. Portuguese, they see the success of the charge and they follow up with a massive, full frontal charge of their own that crashes into the Spanish line. The Spanish are completely terrified. It's a massacre. Soldiers are getting thrown around and trampled like some sort of child's toy in a candy store. Portuguese have no mercy. They slash and they slaughter all the way back to the beach at Salga. Did you trample any Spaniards today? I know what you did. I know what they did. Standing there, looking like they don't want to say anything. Those sick bastards. The Portuguese, again, have no mercy. They slash and they burn. Many Spanish try and throw themselves into the water over there, but they're wearing their armor, which means that most just drown. Out of the 1,000 men that landed here at Salga, it's said that only 50 survive. Amongst the survivors is our friend Admiral Pedro de Valdez, as well as two very famous Spanish writers, the first being Lope de Vega, and the second, Miguel de Cervantes, the author, of course, of Don Quixote de la Mancha. All it would have taken was a couple more crazy bulls and we would not have one of the finest works of Western literature. And with that, a massive victory is won. The Portuguese take back their spoils to the capital, Angra, and the Spanish are left with their heads between their tails. We can still see the monument commemorating the victory over here, right in front of us. In the honor of the valorous Terceirans who fought heroically to expel the foreign invaders on the 25th of July, 1581. You even have a plaque over here depicting the battle. As you can see, there's the Augustinian monk, Pedro, on his horse. You got the bulls over there and the cow herd. This over here must be Brionda Pereira, the owner of the herd, the lady. And then the Spaniards running away, pushing their boats back into the sea as they're butchered by the Portuguese forces. You know, we shouldn't underestimate the impact and the importance of this victory for the Portuguese forces. Philip II has been humiliated by a bunch of islanders from the Azores, and Antonio, the contender to the throne, the Portuguese contender, well, he seriously strengthened his position here in the Azores with his supporters. His threat continues to worry Philip II. Still, to this very day, the Azoreans, the Portuguese here who live in the Azores, are very proud of this massive historical victory. The bulls, who played a central role in the victory of the Portuguese against the Spanish, are now officially part of the heraldry of the coat of arms of the Azores Islands. The motto of the Azores is rather die free than in peace be subjugated. See, but if you thought our story ended here, well, you'd be wrong. Because while the Portuguese are busy celebrating their historical triumph, well, Philip II and the Spaniards, they haven't forgotten what happened just over here on the beach at Salga. And so for the next year, he slowly but surely builds back his strength, dead set on conquering the Azores once and for all. And in 1582, just 1 year after the battle here at Salga, Philip II is ready to strike back with overwhelming force. Join me next time as we head over to São Miguel Island to explore the final moments of the Portuguese Empire.